Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we're diving deep into the fascinating and mysterious history of the Ethiopian Bible. You may be surprised to learn that this ancient text has actually been banned in certain parts of the world. So let's uncover the reasons behind this intriguing phenomenon. First of all, let's discuss what exactly the Ethiopian Bible is. Also known as the Ethiopic version or the Ge'ez Bible, this sacred text includes several books that are not found in the standard Christian Bible. These additional books are known as the Apocrypha and offer unique insights into Ethiopian Christianity. The Ethiopian Bible is one of the most mysterious and controversial books ever written. Even the land is shrouded in inexplicable mystery. But that's a story for another day. Ethiopia is the birthplace of one of the oldest civilizations in the world and the only country in Africa that has not been colonized. For this reason, they can be traced back to Ham, one of Noah's sons. It was even confirmed by the Jews. In addition to the 66 books of the King James Bible, the Ethiopian Bible contains 88 books, including writings that are simply not found in other churches. This book contains scrolls from the Old Testament, the New Testament, and never-before-seen scrolls. Interestingly, these scrolls were in their possession long before Christianity entered their society in the 4th century. In other words, Christianity is not a religion given to them as most countries did. Christianity already existed in Ethiopia. Ethiopia has been a Christian nation since the 4th century. Despite all this authority and authenticity, the Ethiopian Bible is still discarded and not considered part of the canon of scriptures. In fact, most people, including followers of the same faith, have never heard of the Ethiopian Bible. This shows you the extent to which the Ethiopian Bible has been discredited and hidden. This begs the question, why? Why was the Ethiopian Bible banned from being included in the Bible? Well, to understand that, let's take a little history lesson. The Bible we know today is not really the Bible of the past. There are many different versions of parts of the Bible, and there are many different interpretations and ideas of what the Bible says. As we all know, the Bible text was originally written in Hebrew and translated into other languages. The first translation was made by a person known as Saint Jerome, from Jewish to Latin. Around 400 AD, he was responsible for the compilation of the so-called Latin Bible, Vulgate. There are many reasons why the Ethiopian Bible is not accepted. The main reason is that the Bible in Ethiopia includes other books called pseudo-epigraphs. Pseudo-epigraphs are falsely attributed works and texts whose claimed author is not the true author or whose real author attributed it to a figure of the past, like fan fiction. Most other Christian traditions consider the pseudo-inscriptions to be non-canonical. The scribes and theologians of the time already knew that the books that were removed or rejected were not inspired by God. Many people before and after Jesus wrote these books with evil intent, and I can understand why they were taken down. For example, if someone were to publish a book today saying that Usain Bolt was not a great athlete, the book would be a huge failure and the author would get a lot of backlash because we know it's wrong. But if the book is set 500 years into the future, people at that time might start thinking that Usain Bolt is really bad. Therefore, so that such lies do not spread in the future, it's best to stop them before it's too late. Now, even the Ethiopian Bible has two canons, the broad canon and the narrow canon. But before we get into that, let me first define what canon is. A canon is a generally accepted law, rule, principle, or standard for judging something. So with that in mind, it's standard for a phone to have one screen, a country to have one president, and so forth. The most extensive and famous canon has 81 books. In this popular version, we have the Book of Enoch, the Jubilees, the 3 books by Maccabee Epistle, to Clement, Baruch, Esdras, and others. The narrow version of the canon does not include some verses in the wide version. It contains only 72 books. While the wider setup has it all, the narrower setup has more. The wider canon has not been reissued since the early 20th century. So you can already see that even there is already a dispute, and having 2 different versions can also lead to it not being accepted. The Ethiopian classics are a great way to understand how the Bible has changed over time. Contrary to popular belief, the Bible is more than just a book. It is more than a collection of texts and experiences written over many years. Here is the problem. Different religious groups, including authentic or accepted, have long excluded or included different texts or copies for various theological or personal reasons. For example, most of the Bible as we know it was written in the 4th and 5th centuries AD. At that time, Ethiopian Christianity had begun to separate from Christianity in Europe and around the Mediterranean. Until now, the gap has widened. The Ethiopian Bible has many similarities with the Catholic and Orthodox Bibles, although it contains some additional books from the Old Testament. These books were probably written in the last 100 years BC, at the end of the Old Testament. However, before the New Testament began, and after the rest of the New Testament was written, additional books were added at the end of the New Testament. These books specifically dealt with the history and structure of the Ethiopian church. Another reason why the Ethiopic Bible was rejected could be the language in which it was written. The Ethiopian Bible is written in the Jezi language, making it difficult for non-native speakers to read. Moreover, the lack of translations and unique practices of the Ethiopian Bible have contributed to its relative obscurity outside of Ethiopia. The third reason, which is more controversial, is politics. In the early days of Christianity, Roman emperors were concerned with political power rather than spiritual growth. Therefore, any reels that did not fit their preferred story were excluded. But in recent years, people have become more and more interested in the Ethiopian Bible and are trying to find out what is special about it and what truths it contains. The Ethiopian Church is also working to translate it into more languages and conduct scientific research to make it more accessible to more people. Personally, I find it amazing that this Bible survived this long, especially after the country was invaded by Muslims and Italians, and after a fire destroyed the building that housed the Bible after the convent church in the 1930s. Its survival lends mystery to the book. As we conclude our exploration of the Ethiopian Bible and the reasons behind its banning in certain parts of the world, it is clear that this ancient text holds a wealth of knowledge and spiritual wisdom that can